Chapter 10. Rage. Earthquakes are measured on the Richter scale, tornadoes on the Fujita scale, and there's an explosivity index for volcanoes. Andy and Greg weren't sure what scale was used for enraged mothers, but whatever it was, George's mum hit the top level when she woke up at 7:30 that Saturday morning. "Get your asses downstairs!" Dr. Lydon screamed as she yanked George out of a gentle slumber. Being gassed had left her with a bad headache, which made her mood even worse. "Mind your feet! There's broken china all along the passageway!" She'd seen the carnage in the hallway, but only learned of the busted hedge when she threw open George's window to clear out the smell of beer and pizza. "No more sleepovers ever!" she screamed. "This is way beyond a joke!" Apart from the hedge, everything had been fine when George and Zhang dropped off to sleep. George was stunned when he saw the state of the hallway. "It wasn't me," he protested meekly. Across the hall, Sophie emerged with her hair pointing in 1,000 different directions, still dressed in her black dress and stockings, but now accessorized with dried out vomit. "Oh, what's all the noise?" she moaned. "I need sleep." "Sleep?" Dr. Lydon screamed as George and Zhang scrambled down the stairs in a state of complete panic. "Young lady, nobody in this house is getting sleep until every speck of this mess is cleaned up." Sophie tutted. "Don't blow your stack, Ma. It's not my fault if the geek boys decided to get drunk." "That was you!" George's mum shouted, pointing at the puke on the carpet. "It's all down your dress. Get down to the kitchen and grab the cleaning stuff from under the sink." "You're so sexist, just because I'm a girl." "Oh, don't you worry," Dr. Lydon hissed. "George is doing his share of the cleaning too, and you're both paying for the damage out of pocket money and birthday money. And that includes new carpets if we need them, so you'd better scrub hard." Down in the kitchen, Zhang was helping himself to Cocoa Pops and seemed to find the whole scenario quite amusing. "Pity you're not coming to China with me, Georgie," Zhang laughed. "It's about the only place you'd be safe from that crazed mother of yours." George was less concerned with Zhang's teasing than with the breach of trust by his new friend Greg. "I've had loads of sleepovers before and nothing like this has ever happened," George yelled. "What the hell were you guys playing at?" Greg tried to act innocent. "Your sister came home drunk and couldn't get into her room, and Andy knows how to pick locks, so he tried to help. But Sophie went psycho when we opened her door." George wasn't sure he believed this. "What about the massive stain on my carpet? That must have been you guys. And why is Andy wearing a pair of my shorts?" "Because your dumbass sister threw up all over me and then passed out," Andy said. At this point, Sophie came storming in and started grabbing sponges, cloths, and a bottle of carpet shampoo from under the sink. "You're helping, George," she steamed. "None of this would have happened if it wasn't for your idiot mates." "You were drunk," Greg shouted. "You went crazy. You smashed a vase over my head." "Because you groped me," Sophie shouted back. "I didn't grope you. And we saw you rubbing beer and M&Ms into George's carpet to get him into trouble." "That's such a lie!" Sophie shrieked. Greg knew he had her. "Then why's the bottom of your foot all green and red?" Sophie didn't move, but George closed in and demanded to look. "Show me!" George yelled. Sophie refused to lift her foot, and when George tried to make her, she smacked him around the back of the head. George immediately sank his teeth into his sister's arm and 2 seconds later, the two siblings were rolling around on the floor between the washing machine and the dining table, beating the living daylights out of each other. "Stop it!" George's mum screamed, dragging Sophie off her brother as she stormed into the kitchen. "I'm not joking! You're both cleaning that mess up!" Sophie huffed and grabbed the cleaning stuff off the floor, but George tried a different tack and burst into tears. "I'm sorry," George howled. "Please don't punish us. Please don't ruin the whole summer holidays." Dr. Lydon was having none of that. "You're 13 years old," she sneered. "Act like it. You think I'm going to fall for that little act?" To emphasize her point, Dr. Lydon grabbed a plastic dustpan out of the cupboard and whacked her son across the back of the legs. "Get upstairs and start helping your sister," she roared. It was only about the third time Dr. Lydon had ever hit one of her kids, and George was so stunned that he bolted upstairs like someone had shoved a rocket up his butt. With her own kids out of the way, Dr. Lydon turned and scowled at Greg, Andy, and Zhang, who all sat around the dining table. She was still holding the dustpan, and clearly would have been happy to smack the paws off their faces. Unfortunately for her, parents are only allowed to be horrible to their own kids. "Call your parents," the doctor growled. "I want you three out of my house, and don't ever expect to come back." George's mum then turned on her heel and steamed up the staircase. "I don't hear any scrubbing up there," she shouted. Once she was out of earshot, Zhang rattled the cereal box on the table. "Anyone for Cocoa Pops?" he asked cheerfully, as Andy pulled out his mobile to call John. "My uncle's going to meet us at the bottom of the road in 10 minutes, Andy said, when the call finished. "We might as well go now, before the dragon lady comes back downstairs." "Damn good sleepover if you ask me," Zhang smirked as he topped up his bowl. "Normally I just kick George's butt on the Xbox until I get bored. Then I hold him down and fart on his head. But having you guys here, trashing the house and everything, has made a real nice change." "Maybe we'll go to your house next time," Greg smiled, as he stretched his fist across the table and touched Zhang knuckle to knuckle. "Nice meeting you, Zhang," Andy said, as he did the same. "Have a good month in China." The two Cherub agents grabbed their packs and headed out of the back doorway. Andy was hurting all down his left side, and Greg limped on his cut foot as they walked down the gravel driveway and turned onto the street. "I've got a massive egg on my head where Sophie hit me with the vase," Greg complained. "We're like a couple of old men," Andy said. "But at least I can go back to calling you Rat now. This whole Greg thing is confusing." Greg had grown fond of Zhang and George, and felt a touch sad. Now the mission was completed, Cherub would invent some excuse why he had to move away, and he'd never see either of them again. On the upside, Greg hadn't been near his girlfriend Lauren in 2 months, and there'd be a mad party on campus when he turned 13 in a couple of weeks' time. "Feel sorry for old George," Andy noted. "It wasn't deliberate, but we totally stitched the poor guy up." "He'll survive," Greg laughed. "We got the job done, and that's what counts." Epilogue. March 6th, 2008, World Book Day. The grass was stiff with frost, but the kids walking across Cherub campus were happy because they'd all been allowed out of lessons to attend the opening ceremony for the new building. The 2-story structure was an eco-friendly design, with straw-insulated walls and a dramatic curved glass frontage. The little red-shirt kids showed their enthusiasm by running in circles outside the main entrance, jumping up and down, and generally going nuts. Older kids were more reserved, hanging back with their mates and trying not to show any enthusiasm in case it didn't look cool. Lauren Adams led one of the biggest groups. Her boyfriend Rat, aka Greg, walked alongside with his arm around her back, while Andy walked with Lauren's best friend, Bethany. Lauren's older brother James was behind with his best friend Bruce and a couple of his other mates bringing up the rear. "Oh, it's freezing," Chairwoman Zara Asker said once the crowd around the new building had settled. "So I'm going to keep my speech short. We have a lot of special facilities on Cherub campus, but our previous library was demolished to make way for the new Mission Control building. Today is World Book Day, so it gives me extra delight to officially declare the new Cherub campus library open for business." There was a gentle bout of clapping as two of the smallest red shirts walked up to a ribbon stretched across the main door, each holding one side of a pair of giant scissors. The crowd laughed as the ribbon refused to cut until it was held tight by two members of staff. With more than 200 people filtering through the doors, it was several minutes before Lauren and her friends made it inside. "Pretty swish," Lauren said, as she looked up at the library's high-tech curved oak ceiling and wavy glass frontage. There were desks and reference books on a gantry up above. At the far end was a refuge for little kids, filled with cushions and beanbags, in the middle of which was a 5-metre-long pirate ship, complete with a line of reading hammocks, an antique ship's wheel, and white sails with the Cherub logo printed on them. The opposite end was designed for older kids, with armchairs, sofas, and tables. An espresso machine provided coffee or frothy hot chocolate, and there were baskets of muffins, croissants, and fruit. Signs on the wall above the food said, "Please take a free drink and eat our freshly baked muffins while you read. We can also offer 50 punishment laps to anyone who takes food or drink into the main library." Because of the sheer numbers of people, Lauren's group had to fight its way through just to get near the lounge area. "It looks pretty swanky," James Adams said, as he stared at the ceiling. "But I've never really seen the point of books. I mean, if they're any good, you just have to wait a couple of years and it gets turned into a movie." Lauren tutted. "Just because the last book you read was about a hippo learning to tell the time." "And he never finished that," Rat giggled. "James still gets the big hand and the little hand mixed up." By this time, Lauren had reached the edge of the lounge area, but there was a horrendous queue to use the coffee machine. All the seats were taken, and there were even kids perching on the coffee tables. "It's only 'cause it's new," Lauren's best friend Bethany noted. "Come back in 2 days and there'll be 4 people in here." "It's really nice though," Andy said thoughtfully. "I mean, I'd rather sit here and read or do my homework than be alone in my room. And it looks like they've spent a bundle on new books." There was a loud crack and a couple of screams at the other end of the room. Everyone looked around and saw one of the masts snapping on the pirate ship. "Timber!" James shouted. "Well," Lauren sighed. "Whoever designed that clearly underestimated the destructive power of 24 sugar-fueled red shirts." While chaos ensued at the opposite end, with staff rushing in to untangle yelling red shirts from the sails on the broken mast, James spotted an empty table in the main part of the library and pointed towards it. "We're never going to get in the lounge. Let's go sit over there." James and Lauren led the way, but Rat stopped following when he spotted a familiar face on the front of a newspaper. "Andy, check this out!" Rat yelled as he held up the picture on the front page. "Kurt Lydon!" Andy came rushing over as Rat started reading the article. "British scientist among 22 arrested in swoop on nuke trafficking network." A British nuclear engineer was one of 22 suspects arrested in Brussels at what police describe as the annual conference of a secretive nuclear trafficking network known as Dark Sun. 54-year-old Kurt Lydon from Milton Keynes is a uranium enrichment expert who specializes in the design of gas centrifuges used to make fuel for atomic weapons. The joint operation was organized by British, French, American, and Belgian intelligence services and follows the explosion at a prototype uranium enrichment facility in a remote area of Nigeria 3 weeks ago. Lydon is thought to have been the mastermind behind the design of the Nigerian centrifuge. Despite the explosion, which was initially picked up by radiological monitoring equipment on board an American spy satellite, Nigerian authorities continue to distance themselves from the explosion and have described Dark Sun as a terrorist organization with no connection to the democratically elected government of Nigeria. An MI5 press officer described last night's arrests in Belgium as a colossal blow to those countries who are seeking to buy nuclear technology. As well as the 22 arrests, it is believed that the multinational 2-year surveillance operation has also led to the recapture of stolen documents, nuclear material, and the seizure of €80 million in bank accounts belonging to members of the Dark Sun network. In Britain, police have sealed off Kurt Lydon's Milton Keynes home and uncovered a state-of-the-art computer-aided design facility from which Lydon is believed to have made designs for the Dark Sun network. Lydon's wife, a surgeon at a Milton Keynes hospital, and his 2 teenage children are staying with relatives. When contacted, Dr. Lydon refused to make any comment on the search or the arrests.